The massive crystalline ship gleamed like a deadly diamond against the deep blue of Earth's atmosphere. Its sharp edges reflected sunlight, casting an ominous shadow over the planet's surface. Inside the United Global Defense Center, Commander J. Park stood completely still, his posture rigid and calm despite the massive screens displaying the alien vessel. Computers hummed. Technicians moved quickly between workstations. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. Every eye was focused on the alien transmission that flickered and crackled with an otherworldly energy. The alien's voice was mechanical, yet somehow menacing. "Humans of Earth," it announced. "Surrender is your only option." J. Park didn't flinch. His dark eyes studied the alien communication, analyzing every pixel, every subtle movement. Around him, younger officers looked nervous, their hands trembling, slightly near communication panels. "We have evaluated your civilization," the alien continued. "Your technological capabilities are primitive. Your global systems are fragmented. Resistance is mathematically impossible." A young technician named Min whispered to her colleague, "They don't know humans very well, do they?" Jay heard her comment and allowed himself a slight smile. Humans had always been underestimated. Throughout history, when backed into a corner, they did something unexpected. They adapted, they fought, they survived. The alien transmission continued its cold, calculated threat. Mathematical probabilities of defeat scrolled across secondary screens. 99.7% chance of total human submission, 0.3% margin of potential resistance. Numbers meant nothing to humanity. Jay remembered stories from his grandfather about impossible wars, about nations that survived when everyone believed they would collapse. He remembered tales of resistance, of innovation, of turning certain defeat into unexpected victory. "Your global leadership has 48 hours to transmit unconditional surrender protocols," the alien voice droned. "Non-compliance will result in immediate planetary neutralization." Around the command center, multiple communication channels lit up. Military leaders from different continents were already connecting, sharing real-time data, preparing strategies. What the aliens didn't understand was human unpredictability. They saw a species divided by languages, cultures, and political systems. What they didn't see was a species capable of uniting when faced with an external threat. Jay pressed a button. Global communication networks activated. Within minutes, military strategists, scientists, political leaders would be sharing information faster than the aliens could comprehend. The crystalline ship continued hovering, a silent threat against Earth's horizon. Its massive form suggested technological superiority, a promise of swift and total destruction. But humanity had a secret weapon: hope and determination, and an incredible capacity to turn impossible situations into opportunities. J. Park turned to his team. "Prepare all defensive protocols," he said calmly, "and get me direct communication with our global research centers." The young technicians looked at him, waiting for more instructions. Their eyes showed a mix of fear and something else, a spark of defiance that no mathematical calculation could predict. Outside, the alien ship continued its silent, menacing hover. Inside the defense center, humans began to move, not with panic, not with fear, but with a quiet building energy of resistance. The 48-hour countdown had begun, and the aliens had no idea what was coming. Humanity was about to show them exactly what surrender meant, and it definitely wasn't what the aliens thought. The sky erupted with a metallic symphony of destruction. Alien dropships fell like silver needles, their hulls gleaming with advanced technology that seemed invincible moments ago. But Earth's military had been preparing, waiting, and most importantly, thinking. Captain Wu Choi stood in the underground command bunker, his hands steady on the tactical display. Screens flickered with incoming trajectories, each alien vessel marked with precise targeting systems. Around him, soldiers moved with practiced efficiency, their movements synchronized, like a complex dance. "Target acquired." Choi's voice cut through the electronic noise. "Neutralize incoming vessels." Massive electromagnetic pulse cannons burst to life across strategic global locations. They weren't just weapons, they were humanity's collective middle finger to an invasion force that thought conquest would be easy. The first alien dropship encountered unexpected resistance. As it entered the lower atmosphere, pulse waves struck its sophisticated shielding. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, like a delicate glass sculpture hit by a hammer, the ship's systems began to fail. Rookie soldiers watched in amazement as advanced alien technology crumbled under human ingenuity. Each pulse wave was carefully calculated, targeting specific frequency vulnerabilities that Earth scientists had discovered during initial surveillance. Another dropship spiraled out of control, its metallic body spinning like a broken toy. Debris rained down over unpopulated zones, a calculated decision by military strategists to minimize potential human casualties. "They thought we were weak," muttered a young radar technician, her fingers dancing across multiple communication channels. They didn't understand humans at all. Wu Choi allowed himself a brief smile. Humanity's greatest strength had always been adaptation. Where other species saw rigid structures, humans saw opportunities. Where conventional wisdom suggested surrender, humans saw a challenge. The alien invasion force had made one critical mistake. They believed technology alone could conquer a species driven by innovation, creativity, and an unbreakable spirit. Missiles launched from hidden underground silos, their trajectories cutting perfect arcs across the sky. Each missile carried a combination of traditional explosive payloads and experimental electromagnetic disruptors, weapons designed specifically to counter the alien technology. Global defense networks, once separated by political boundaries, now worked as a single unified organism. Data streamed between command centers in Seoul, Washington, Moscow, and dozens of other locations. Every piece of information was shared, analyzed, and transformed into a weapon. Another dropship exploded mid-air, its complex systems overwhelmed by coordinated pulse attacks. The sky became a battlefield of human determination against alien technological superiority. "Continuing engagement," Choi reported calmly. "Alien vessels experiencing systematic shutdown." What the aliens didn't understand was that humans had been preparing for this moment their entire technological history. Every science fiction scenario, every military simulation, every technological breakthrough had been leading to this precise moment. The first wave of invasion was turning into a spectacular failure. Alien communication channels began to show confusion. Their mathematical models of conquest were falling apart, replaced by the chaotic, unpredictable human response. One by one, dropships fell. Some crashed, some were disabled, some were completely obliterated. But each destruction sent a clear message to the watching collective. Humans were not going to be an easy target. In the command bunker, soldiers exchanged quiet glances. This wasn't just a battle. This was a statement, a declaration that humanity would fight, would adapt, would survive. Captain Wu Choi watched the tactical display, his expression calm but determined. The first wave of invasion was ending, and humanity had just served notice to the universe. This was not a species that would surrender. This was a species that would fight, no matter the cost. The research facility looked like something between a military bunker and a technological wonderland. Bright lights illuminated dozens of workstations where scientists worked around the clock, surrounded by pieces of alien technology that just days ago seemed like impossible magic. Dr. Hyun Kim stood at the center of this controlled chaos. Her lab coat was wrinkled, her hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, eyes burning with an intense focus that spoke of countless sleepless hours. Before her lay the most sophisticated piece of alien technology ever captured, a pulse cannon that could theoretically destroy entire city blocks with a single shot. But now, it would become humanity's weapon. "Molecular structure is complex," she muttered to herself, her fingers moving across holographic interfaces that flickered and danced. With intricate data patterns, computer screens surrounding her displayed complex equations, alien technical schematics, and rapidly changing computational models. Young researchers watched her with a mixture of awe and hope. Dr. Kim wasn't just studying the alien technology. She was rewriting its fundamental purpose. The captured pulse cannon sat on a reinforced testing platform. It looked like a nightmare made of metallic curves and impossible angles, something that shouldn't exist in human understanding. Yet here it was, slowly being transformed. Every technology has a weakness, Kim explained to a junior researcher who was watching her work, and every weakness is an opportunity. What made humans different from the alien collective was their ability to think beyond prescribed limitations. Where the aliens saw rigid technological systems, humans saw puzzles waiting to be solved. Hour after hour, Kim and her team worked. They broke down the pulse cannon's internal mechanisms, understanding its energy flow, its computational logic, its power distribution systems. What once seemed incomprehensible was now becoming a blueprint for human innovation. Computer algorithms ran millions of simulations. Each failure was not a setback but a learning opportunity. The team didn't just want to understand alien technology, they wanted to master it, to bend it to humanity's will. "We're not just copying," Kim told her team. "We're improving." Outside, the research facility, the world waited. Military leaders, government officials, and ordinary citizens understood that these scientists were humanity's true front line. Their weapons were not just physical, they were intellectual, creative, adaptive. The pulse cannon began to change. Its original alien-designed systems were being replaced, modified, enhanced. Human ingenuity was transforming an instrument of destruction into something that could potentially save their entire civilization. Breakthrough after breakthrough happened. Energy distribution systems were optimized. Computational pathways were redesigned. What the aliens had created as a weapon of conquest was being turned into a tool of defense, ready for initial test. One of the computer systems announced. The entire facility went silent. Everyone knew this moment was crucial. If they could successfully modify this alien technology, it would change everything about humanity's chances of survival. Dr. Kim took a deep breath. Her finger hovered over the activation sequence. This was more than a scientific experiment. This was humanity's response to an impossible challenge. This was proof that human creativity could overcome any technological barrier. She pressed the activation button. The pulse cannon hummed. Its lights flickered. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, something remarkable occurred. The weapon that was designed to destroy humans was now ready to defend them, and the aliens had no idea what was coming. The communication center buzzed with a strange electric energy. Screens filled with alien communication channels flickered and danced, revealing something extraordinary happening behind the scenes of the invasion. Yun-Li sat at the central console, her fingers moving with surgical precision across multiple, holographic interfaces. Around her, a team of specialists watched in silent amazement. They weren't just intercepting alien communications, they were systematically dismantling the collective's psychological infrastructure. Humans had discovered the collective's most significant weakness, their rigid, logic-based communication system. "Every communication has a pattern," Yoon muttered, her eyes reflecting the rapidly changing data streams. "And every pattern can be manipulated." The alien communication network operated like a massive, interconnected brain. Information flowed through strict, predictable channels. What the collective didn't understand was that humans could introduce chaos into those perfect systems. Small pieces of carefully crafted misinformation began spreading through alien communication channels. These weren't simple lies, but complex psychological triggers designed to create doubt, confusion, and internal conflict. Reports began appearing that suggested different military units were questioning leadership decisions. False communications implied that some alien commanders were considering retreat. Fabricated historical records suggested previous failed invasions that never happened. The collective's communication systems, built on pure logical algorithms, couldn't distinguish between genuine and manipulated information. Each false report created tiny fractures in their unified thinking. Military strategists watched in amazement. This wasn't traditional warfare, This was psychological warfare taken to an entirely new level. Yoon Lee's team had become information warriors. They understood that in the modern age, data was more powerful than any physical weapon. They could destroy enemy morale without firing a single shot. Alien communication channels began showing signs of internal stress. Logical systems started questioning their own fundamental programming. Debates emerged where none should exist. Uncertainty crept into previously unbreakable communication networks. "Information is our ultimate weapon," Yoon said quietly, a small smile playing on her lips. The collective had believed their technological superiority made them invincible. They didn't understand that humans could turn their own strengths into devastating weaknesses. Sophisticated alien communication algorithms, designed to process information with machine-like precision, now struggled to distinguish truth from carefully constructed fiction. Each false report was like a tiny virus slowly breaking down their unified thinking. Military commanders watching the operation were stunned. They were witnessing something unprecedented, a bloodless psychological invasion that was more effective than any physical attack. Alien units began reporting conflicting information. Their once perfect communication network started showing cracks. Doubt that most human of emotions was being systematically introduced into a system that had never experienced such a concept. Yoon continued her delicate operation, each keystroke a precise surgical strike against the alien psychological framework. She wasn't just sending information. She was carefully constructing a narrative that would slowly break down the collective's invasion strategy. The beauty of their approach was its subtlety. No direct confrontation, no obvious attack. Just a slow, methodical introduction of uncertainty that would eventually consume the entire alien communication infrastructure. Hours passed. The communication network continued to fracture. What had been a unified, powerful invasion force was slowly transforming into a confused, uncertain collection of units questioning their own mission. Yoon Lee leaned back, watching the screens. The collective had made one critical mistake in their invasion. They had underestimated human creativity, and now they would pay the price. The massive command center of the collective's primary battle station felt unnaturally silent. High Commander Rolk stared at the holographic displays, his multiple sensory organs trembling with an emotion closest to human shock. Complete disbelief. Humans were not supposed to do this. Invasion models predicted total collective victory within 72 standard planetary cycles. Those models now looked like broken mathematical jokes. Every single projection, every calculated scenario had completely collapsed. Human fleets moved with a precision that defied everything the collective understood about warfare. They weren't just defending, they were attacking. Each movement was calculated, unpredictable, almost alive. Rolk watched as another collective battle group disappeared from the strategic display. Gone, destroyed, eliminated by a species they had considered primitive. Communication channels between collective territories were fragmenting. Panic, a feeling previously unknown in their logical systems, began spreading like a viral infection. Units that once moved with perfect synchronization now communicated with uncertainty. The humans had done something impossible. They had transformed a potential extinction event into a moment of species-wide triumph. Tactical displays showed human ships moving through previously secure collective territories. They weren't just pushing back, they were systematically dismantling. Invasion infrastructure, research stations, communication relays, strategic outposts. Each destroyed facility represented more than a physical loss. It represented a psychological defeat. Rolk remembered the initial invasion briefing. Humans had been described as chaotic biological units with minimal technological capability. Those reports now seemed like the most spectacular miscalculation. In collective history, human technological adaptation had been breathtaking. Weapon systems that seemed incomprehensible weeks ago were now being used against their original creators. Captured technologies were not just understood, they were improved, reimagined, transformed. The counteroffensive wasn't just military. It was a complete systemic attack on collective infrastructure. Communication networks collapsed. Logical systems became illogical. Perfect mathematical predictions became meaningless. Somewhere in the vast darkness of space, human commanders were executing a strategy that went beyond traditional warfare. They were dismantling an entire civilization's psychological framework. Rogue's communication implants began receiving fragmented reports. Invasion units reporting complete communication breakdown. Strategic systems failing. Entire battle groups losing coordination. Humans had discovered something the collective never understood. True strength wasn't about technological superiority. It was about adaptability, creativity, the ability to transform weakness into strength. The holographic displays continued showing human fleet movements. Each movement was a dance of mathematical perfection mixed with impossible creativity. They weren't following any recognizable strategic pattern, which made them absolutely terrifying. As collective territories began falling, something unprecedented happened. The invasion force was no longer a unified entity. It was becoming a collection of confused, isolated units, each losing connection with the central command. Rogue realized they were witnessing more than a military defeat. This was a fundamental breakdown of everything the collective understood about warfare, technology, and survival. Humans had not just won a war. They had rewritten the entire concept of interstellar conflict. The final holographic display showed something that would have been impossible to imagine just weeks earlier. Human fleets approaching the collective's home systems, not as invaders, but as a force that had completely transformed the balance of galactic power. The universe would never be the same. And the collective had dramatically underestimated one simple thing: human potential.